So today I'm going to talk about Ragnarok, the Twilight of the Gods. Of course, simulation based in Norse mythology. Published by SPI and also appears in Ares magazine. The passing of Fimbulwinter precedes the end of worlds of gods and men. The legions of evil storm across the Rainbow Bridge to do final combat with the heroic Aesir in the battle Ragnarok. You get the sense of the Norse gods going to battle, Valkyrie and warriors behind them. Personally, I like it. To me, it just fits in with 70s and 80s art really well, so that's why I like it. And I got the box version. There's also an Ares magazine version. Game design development, Daryl D. Esikoff. Graphic design, Redmond A. Simonson. Illustration, John Piard. So it's basically a struggle of the Aesir, which are the heroes, which, obviously there's so much subtlety in Norse mythology about, they're pretty good, but they have some flaws as well. Odin, Thor in the group, that's Tyr. And they battle the Jotun. I'm not sure if I pronounced it right, but the Aesir symbolize kind of heroism and order. And the Jotun, which are allied with Loki, for instance, symbolize anarchy and treachery, I guess. In my simple overview there. So it's a struggle of the Aesir race of Norse gods against invasion led by the traitorous god Loki. Depicts the plain of Vigrid lying between the Rainbow Bridge and the city of the gods Asgard, where the battle takes place, and the playing pieces represent warriors, Valkyries, frost giants, fire giants, and such celebrated individuals as Odin, Thor, Loki, and the Midgard Serpent. Not sure if the Midgard Serpent is celebrated. Each player maneuvers his forces across the map in an effort to fulfill his victory conditions. To win, the player, combating the invading Jotun forces, must destroy Asgard, thus bringing about Ragnarok, the Twilight of the Gods. The Aesir player must repel the Jotun invasion to win, thus postponing Asgard fall. This is the box version, and I was actually able to get for $5 basically a mint version of Ragnarok with unpunched pieces, so I was kind of happy about that. And this is actually what the unpunched pieces look like. Talk about the pieces more in detail. But the good thing about the Ares, obviously there's a lot of good about the Ares magazine, but I didn't see this in the rules that go with the box game, but in the Ares magazine you get the historical background, which is nice. You talk about high level story of what happens in Ragnarok. Game design development, Daryl D. Esikoff. Physical systems graphics, Redmond A. Simonson. Rule editing, Brady Hessel. As far as components, so there's 100 die-cut counterpieces. They're two-sided, and these box versions, they don't have a tray, so for these SPI box games, I always use the GMT trays because they fit very nicely. Rules 8 pages. So here's the unique counters. Aesir and their allies in blue, the Jotun and their allies in red. Heroes are of the format course name, attack rating, movement point allowance, and defense rating. And they're two-sided, so the heroes have, on their backside, they have what their degraded value is from, stuff that happens in battle. For the Aesir, we have Odin, Thor, Tyr, Heimdall, Vidar, and Freyr, warriors, and then again front side they're nominal, and then on their flip side a degraded value. Berserkers, nominal and degraded. The Valkyrie, both sides. And then for the Jotun and their allies, Loki, Cyril, Fenrir, Garm, Herm, and the Serpent, Midgard. In addition to the normal counter definitions, the Jotun on their flip side also have, in parentheses here, a feather escape rating, and we'll show how those come into play in certain combat situations. And then fire giants and frost giants, which will make things interesting. And these are game markers to indicate endurance levels of the different heroes or, villains, depending on your perspective, I guess. To indicate where melee is occurring, and this indicates an incapacitated unit. And as you can tell, for these to play them, I rounded the edges. For these specific counters, I think they look kind of good when they have rounded edges. The box game comes with 3 dice. I wasn't, mine didn't come with dice, so I got these 3 small, SPI dice on eBay to, fill in the dice and make it authentic SPI. Then here's the game map. It's a, thickish paper map. And actually, I like it. It's very functional. It's got some detail, but not unnecessary detail. So it represents the plane of Vigrid, where Ragnarok occurs. Each hexagon is about 3 miles, 1 league across. And each game turn represents passage of 30 minutes. So, of course, different terrain for different terrain effects. Forest, river, road, clear, bridge, and the walls of Asgard and the gates of Asgard. It's very functional. I like when the maps have the information you need on here and what you have to keep track of. I really appreciate that. So the endurance record track for the heroes for both sides of the conflict to track the endurance. Shows the starting points of them. The Rainbow Bridge track, Rainbow Bridge collapse table, damage table, mortal enemy combat modification summary, terrain effects chart, effects on movement and combat, attack rating modifications, warrior unit holding box, disengagement table, and the terrain key. Looks very well presented. Looking forward to getting into it. And the game turn sequence. Jotun player turn. Rainbow Bridge phase. Jotun recovery. Jotun movement phase. On-map hero segment. On-map unit segment. Rainbow Bridge segment. All Jotun counters on the Rainbow Bridge track can move. Jotun combat phase. Engaged hero combat segment. Unengaged hero combat segment. Unit combat segment. Then the Aesir player turn. Aesir reinforcement phase. Aesir recovery phase. Aesir movement phase. On-map hero segment. On-map unit segment. Reinforcement segment. Aesir combat phase. Engaged hero combat segment. Unengaged hero combat segment. Unit combat segment. Victory conditions. General rule: the first player to fulfill one of these victory conditions is the winner of the game. The Jotun player wins by exiting counters from the east map edge within Asgard. The Aesir player wins by repelling the Jotun invasion successfully. The game ends immediately whenever one player has fulfilled one of his victory conditions and he is declared the winner. So here's set up. Heimdall's at the end of the Rainbow Bridge here on the plane of Vigard. Then all the hero endurance point indicators are set in their starting location. Then we'll get into the first turn. So Rainbow Bridge track phase. First see if it collapses. And there's none on there yet, so we don't check that. Recovery, none recovery yet. Then movement phase. On map hero segment, no heroes on the map yet. On map unit, no units on the map yet. And then the Rainbow Bridge segment. This is where we put units on the bridge. And of course initially I don't want any chance of it collapsing, so I'm going to just stick with 4 on here because that doesn't give me a chance of collapsing. And Loki, Fenrir, and Herm and all Frost Giants have to enter through box 1 before Surt, Garm, Midgard Serpent, and the Fire Giants come on board. So we'll do that. We'll have a hero, or anti-hero I guess. We'll send Herm up here with 3 Frost Giants. So there's no chance of it collapsing yet. Then the Aesir player turn, reinforcements. And then we see what turn that the Aesir are going to start coming on the board. So you roll the dice and add 2 to it. So turn 4 they'll be coming on. And to indicate that, I'll just put a berserker marker over here on 4 and then start, moving that down each turn. But since that was the first turn, now there's 3 more turns until they come on. Then the next turn, so no Aesir on here yet. Start moving across the Rainbow Bridge here. These guys up. Now Fenrir and 3 more Frost Giants come up. I don't want to take a chance of the Rainbow Bridge collapsing yet, so there's no onboard movement yet, no combat. So that was the second turn. So now 2 more turns until the Aesir come on. Rainbow Bridge. I'll take a little bit of a chance. I'll put 6 on next time. 6 on this time, and then there's a chance it'll collapse next. But I want to start, since the Aesir are coming on soon, I want to start loading up. And Loki's going to go with this group. So I'll put Loki and 5 Frost Giants. No Aesir movement the next turn. So now we're on turn 3, so there's only 1 more turn until the Aesir come on. Let's check. Now we have to check to see if the bridge collapses because they have 6 units. So if I roll a 3, 5, or 11, it's going to be a problem. 8, we're okay. So these are going to come off and meet Heimdall. So we have Herm and a Frost Giant up here with Heimdall. You're only limited to having 1 unit counter in a hex. You can have an unlimited number of heroes, but you can only have 1 unit counter. So you can only have 1 Frost Giant counter in there. And these guys will stay back in the Rainbow Bridge. Of these to have 4 in this section 3 here. Have Loki come up. I'll have 5 Frost Giants for a total of 6 counters here. And then here we'll have 6 Frost Giants. They have 6 here anyway, and they still have the chance of collapsing for the 6. I might as well put 6 here too, because you just take the maximum of on a section. That's the Jotun combat, engaged hero combat segment. So we have Herm versus Heimdall. So we'll do combat here, Heimdall versus Herm. The hero combat takes place in 3 rounds. They both take a turn. You take the attack rating plus the defense rating of the defender, and if there's a modification either from train or the mortal enemy combat, include that. There's no train modifiers. There's no mortal enemy combat modifications either, because Heimdall gets a +1 versus Loki, and Herm gets no modifications, so they don't have any against each other. And since it's the Jotun player going first, Herm has a 9 attack, and Heimdall's got a 1, so he's got 10. If he gets, for 3 dice, if he gets 10 or less, he gets a hit. Nope. Then Heimdall goes. He's going to do a blinding light. It takes 1 endurance point for him to do that, but he can go on the damage table here and see what the effects of that is. 7. So it incapacitates. It's effective, and it incapacitates Herm. So Herm can't attack anymore because he's incapacitated, but Heimdall still can. Heimdall has to expend 1 endurance point though to do the blinding light, so we reduce his endurance points by 1. And in these rounds, Herm isn't going to be able to go anywhere because he's incapacitated, and he won't get that incapacitated taken off till the next, friendly, game turn recovery phase. So through this battle, he's going to be incapacitated. So he can't go, so Heimdall will go again. Again, needs 11 or less. Nope. Third round. 11, so he is hit. See his damage. 8. So Herm loses 2 endurance points. take them down the track here. So that's the end of that Jotun Hero Combat segment. But now we get into the unit combat segment. And there's a Frost Giant here that can attack Heimdall. So he's got a 7 versus a 1 for Heimdall. And this doesn't go in rounds, it's just a one-time thing. Frost Giants. 6. Do a hit on Heimdall. And the damage then. Again, 6. So Heimdall loses 3 endurance points. That's a pretty big hit. So now we go into the Aesir player turn phase. Reinforcements. They won't get reinforcements till next turn, so none of those. Recovery. Heimdall isn't incapacitated yet, so he doesn't need to recover from incapacitation. Movement phase. Heimdall's going to be staying right here, combating them. And then combat phase. He doesn't have any units, but he can do hero combat. So he's still engaged with Herm here, and of course Herm's incapacitated, so he gets 3 shots at him. In 3 rounds, Herm can't fight back because he's incapacitated. Guy needs 11 or less. 10, hit. 6, knock 3 off of Herm. Next shot at him. 11, hit. 5, that's a pretty big hit. That's a -4G, which means that Herm has a grievous wound, which will keep affecting him. Each the end of each friendly phase, he's going to lose 2 endurance points, but he takes 4 right away. So that's a pretty big hit. So we flip this over to indicate it's a grievous wound. Gets 1 more shot. 12, so he misses on that one. To the Jotun turn. Rainbow Bridge, see if it collapses. So there's 6 units on a couple of them, so the max is 6. We'll see what happens. 8. It's alright, doesn't collapse. And then recovery for an incapacitation. Take that off. Now Herm isn't incapacitated anymore. Movement phase. Unmap hero segment. Herm will be staying right there. Unit will stay there to try to take out Heimdall. Then we move from the Rainbow Bridge. Again, they're limited. Heimdall's holding up the deal here because they can only have 1 unit there, and the Frost Giant's there. But they'll move these up. He is going to move Fenrir in here though to help out to attack Heimdall. So he's got a couple of heroes there. He can have an unlimited number of heroes in a X. Move up Loki. Put a couple more Frost Giants here. Have a total of 6 counters here. Move up these Frost Giants. So we have 6 in there as well. And once we get all the Frost Giants in, we can start moving in Fire Giants and the remaining heroes. So I'll put a Frost Giant here, Frost Giant, and then I'll also bring in a Fire Giant there, to have 4 there. This is the 4th turn, so the Aesir reinforcements will be coming this turn, but first we'll do the Jotun phase. They moved, and now combat. So there's a couple of heroes, or I guess you'd say maybe anti-heroes, going against Heimdall. So Heimdall's going to be busier. Got Herm against Heimdall. 9 plus 1, so 10 or less. Yes, hit. Damage. 7. -2. Heimdall loses 2, now he's down to 12 endurance points. Heimdall goes, needs 11 or less. Hit. 7. Does 2 on Herm. So Herm's down to 5 now. So after the other 2 combat rounds, Herm lost 5 points. Heimdall got a couple of good hits in there, so he's gone. And Heimdall took 4 damage, so he's down to a total of 8 endurance points. So now Fenrir the Wolf goes against Heimdall. And he can do his special things. He can do a lunging attack, which increases his attack by +2 in a combat round. But in the Aesir side of that, Heimdall can increase the Fenrir's defense also increases by 2, which would help Heimdall. So we'll do that lunging attack. So it's 10 plus 1, 11, plus 2 more, 13. Hits him. And if he does cause a grievous injury in Heimdall, he has a chance of actually swallowing Heimdall whole, since he's a giant wolf. So we'll see what damage is done. 7 minus 2 Heimdall. So since Fenrir's is +2 on defense, he needs 12 or less. Actually, he's going to try his blinding light, which that doesn't affect. 11. Unfortunately, no effect. Then Fenrir will do a regular attack. 9, yep. Damage. 9 minus 1. Heimdall. Hit. 6 minus 3 on Fenrir. Just gets him down to 14 though, so he's got a ways to go. Fenrir. Hit. 7. 2 more damage. Heimdall. Hit. 5. So he does a grievous injury on Fenrir, which means again he'll be gone in a couple turns. So we'll knock him down 4. Should switch over to grievous injury. And Heimdall's down 3. So then we do the unit combat. So Frost Giant. 7. Heimdall's 1, so total of 8. See if he hits. 8. So he does hit. Damage. Yeah, so actually he does a grievous injury to Heimdall, which is -4. So Heimdall is gone. But he did a good job of slowing down the Jotun for sure. So since it's turn 4, we're going to get Aesir reinforcements coming in. So for the number of warriors, roll a die and subtract 1. So 5 warriors coming in. Number of Valkyrie, also roll 1 die and subtract 1. 4 Valkyrie. So now to figure out which Aesir heroes are coming in. Odin automatically comes in. And then for the others, we roll a dice, and if you get a 1, that hero's coming in. So Tyr, no. Thor, no. Vidar, no. Freyr, 1, so Freyr comes in. So all the reinforcements come in between 0526 and 0726 inclusive. And I got too many to fit in those hexes, but as long as they're not stacked at the end of movement, it's okay. So I think it's okay to stack them initially. So I put the Valkyries outside of Asgard here, and warriors mainly inside Asgard to guard it. 1 warrior outside. Have Odin leading the charge here with the Valkyries outside Asgard. And I'll leave Freyr inside here to guard Asgard. Move the Asgard heroes. Odin doesn't want to get too far ahead. He's got his 5-legged horse, so he goes 5. But the Valkyries can go 4, so he'll just go 4. And the movement cost is 1 across clear terrain, 1 additional across a river, and 2 to go through a forest. But he's flying, so it doesn't really affect him. He'll go 4. Freyr is staying inside here. It costs 1 to go across, either across roads or go across clear, so he's got a movement of 3. Then the units of this Valkyrie come up here to be with Odin. 4. So the Valkyrie are leading the charge there with Odin. Warrior. He's got a movement of 2. And these ones will move inside here just so they're not stacked. So that's the movement. And then there's no Aesir combat yet, so that's the end of that turn. So that's Ragnarok, Twilight of the Gods from SPI in 1981. Actually, I quite like it. It does a simulation of Norse mythology. It's pretty neat. It's a little bit ironic because that was apparently predestined, yet we're randomizing it, so it's kind of fun. What's neat about those is it's got a lot of kind of sub levels in it. You have like the Rainbow Bridge crossing you have to think about. You got how the gods are coming in and the randomization when they come in. You got how do you manage the units versus heroes, the different abilities of the different characters from mythology, and of course itself tying into mythology makes it can ask for more background than that. I like that. Most of the information you need is like right in the map here. I'll give that a pretty high rating. I think I'll give that a 8 out of 10. Thanks a lot.